Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar about a fascinating subject, the digital twin. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer a few of your question about what it is, what it isn't, and what is this thing that we call a digital twin. So I'm Sebastian, the founder and CTO of 3D Logistics. Started my career in aerospace, and after 15 years of building flight simulator, moved across to consulting, doing IT strategic planning for a number of different small and large size businesses, where I was able to witness how non-user friendly a lot of the enterprise softwares are, and how the users, people actually using the application every day, were sometimes a little bit left out of the conversations in terms of the design. And so decided to start 3D Logistics and focus on the user and focus on democratizing a lot of the very high-end features into 3D Logistics, which is targeted towards more the smaller, small and medium-sized businesses. So yeah, happy to be here and presenting you this digital twin feature that we've introduced in 3D Logistics.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm Michelle. I'm a supply chain specialist here at 3D Logistics. My background's a little bit different to that of Seb. I've come from a logistics background, over a decade worth of logistics management experience on the floor with the pain points, getting gray hairs by the day. I'm predominantly from a retail and fashion industry, and I focus on optimizing the warehouse management system. And yeah, full believer that when you have the right fit system with a high performing team, efficiency is achieved. Just to go through what we're going to be discussing today in our agenda. So we'll start off with just explaining what is a digital twin, what is this whole thing about. Next, we'll go into the opportunities a digital twin unlocks. After that, we will show you how that maps into your physical operation by going into a live demo. Thereafter, we'll just discuss some real outcomes from warehouses that built their digital twin. And thereafter, we'll go into a bit of a Q&A session. If I could ask, could you please just keep your questions and answers for the end of the discussion, and then we will go through them depending on how time allows. But if you could just keep it till the end, that would be great. So now that you see where we're headed today, I want to start with a bit of a reality check. For a long time, there's been a massive tech gap in our industry. So you either had enterprise-grade intelligence, which costs a fortune and takes over a year to install, or you had a SME agility where you move fast, but you essentially flew blind. We believe in zero compromise, so we're bringing top-tier intelligence to the mid-market so that you could keep your speed but lose the chaos. So when you look at these two images, I'm sure you're all familiar with the one on the left. That's what I call management by bravery. This is where I was back in my day, where your supervisors are the heroes every day just to keep the doors open. But this bravery, unfortunately, isn't a scalable business model. We're here to move you into a world of engineered flow. So the three no mores, just to briefly touch on here, like no more expensive guesses. Like we've all seen it. Like, you know, the system says the stock is there, but the physical bin is empty. That discrepancy isn't just a glitch, it's a ghost in your system, and it kills your pick rates. So we're trying to eliminate that whole search and rescue thing, those missions, and replace them with a visual truth. So I mean, something like this could like potentially even affect your sales order. You know, the stock is there, you sell the item, you get to the bin, it's not there. Now what? It's really not a good position to be in. The next thing is like the no more peak season meltdown. So efficiency shouldn't be your best case scenario. It should be your baseline. So we're moving away from, or trying to move away from, we hope the team remembers the process, to a system that is actually hardwired for success. We ensure that your layout and your staff prompts are synchronized so that even at 200% volume, the floor stays calm. And then no more trial and error with your team's time. People are your most expensive asset. Like, you want to stop using them as human sensors to find out if a new process works or where something is. Every minute a picker spends wondering or wasting time on the floor is margin leaking out of your business. So the strategy in the whole 3D is so that your team like hits the floor with like total execution confidence.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that leads us to what is this thing that we're calling digital twin, and where does it come from? It is not a new idea. In fact, this is something that originally came up in the 60s during the Apollo program. And this is something that people are now realizing that actually saved the lives of the Apollo 13 mission. So sure, a lot of you have seen the movie or have heard about it. So starting from there, you know, in 1970, what these guys did basically is, you know, bring all of the parts and try to pretty much recreate the exact conditions that the astronauts were in, and you know, bringing all of the parts that they had and try to you know, help them out, figure out certain scenarios. And that was really like the first time they were using this replica, if you will, or to be able to test different scenarios before they were suggesting something to the astronauts. And so we've gone a long way since then. And back then they were not talking about digital twin per se. They had simulators, and they had very basic simulators, but still. Now we're obviously somewhere else, and you know, we've gone from these big clunky simulators that were super expensive and reserved for NASA and the military to now every airline has access to a variety of different flight simulators. And then recently, with the democratization and of technology and the massive improvements that were ironically driven a lot by the gaming industry, we saw the graphic cards becoming more and more powerful, the resolution being more and more precise, to the point where now you could see on the right hand side they built these stations where you have a really immersive environment where you can replicate almost any sort of scenario. From here, I believe they're trying to show a refueling scenario between two ships, and somebody has to stand on the bridge and issue commands and look at what's going on. So instead of rehearsing this on the real ship, they can rehearse this in that dome. And similarly, air traffic control can also be done in this. So what's allowing for this to be a reality is our ability now to fully replicate the physical world into a digital environment. And closer to us, or us being us, like not the military or pilots in an aircraft, but from a construction and building standpoint, now we're starting to see augmented reality, where now we have building information management system, or BIM, where now the entire building is first built virtually with all of the pipings and accessories and furnitures and things, and then people can actually see whether there are any interference, whether a pipe is going through an air conditioning duct, and so on and so forth. So digital twin are really all around us nowadays, but in the warehouse and supply chain sector, it's not something that's been really thought about so far, other than some very specific or very unique work use cases for sometimes doing simulation, but nothing used live in a live warehouse or supply chain environment. And so we're calling this the missing link, and basically the idea is to go beyond your spreadsheet, beyond the report that you print in the morning and that everybody works off during the day, and then the next day you're printing another static point of view of your warehouse, and try to move this into more of a dynamic, real-time, live scenario. So far, we've had the product attributes, and we've had them since the beginning. So dimensions, weight, whatever other technical specification, whether it's dangerous goods, radioactive, whatever the case may be, needs to be kept cool or whatnot. And we have the customer data, or the sales data that comes from POS system, that comes from your ERP system, your CRM, your e-com platform, or whatever the case might be. And we've been pretty good, I think, in combining this information and now leveraging AI to give us some insights, and use those insights to drive more business, to be more efficient, drive quality up. But one thing that we haven't been really good at is the user interface and the user experience. So very powerful tools, but they look a little bit old, a little bit tired, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But for users, so people using this day in, day out, it's far from being the best. So put a little bit of humor in there. Welcome to the 1990s, or gotta love the 1990s. Ironically, a lot of those systems were actually written or invented in the 90s. Very robust, but seems like the interface hasn't really evolved. So what we're doing at 3D Logistics is we bridged a gap, or we brought in another dimension which hasn't necessarily been considered so far, and that's the digital twin part. So the digital twin brings in the other side of the warehouse, where your parts and items are going to be stored. So with the digital twin, we have access to your exact floor plan, so dimensions, where any of the obstacles are, the rack and shelving configuration, which also means, you know, how high from the floor each of the shelves are, what's the volume that can be accommodated on a specific shelf, what's the weight that can be accommodated on a specific shelf. And now that we have this, what I call missing piece of the puzzle, now we can truly use the technology and AI to compute all sorts of scenarios that weren't necessarily available to us before, because we didn't have the data from the racking, from the volume available, and so on and so forth. So with that information now, we can start creating views that look more like this and have either real-time information as to where our people are in the warehouse, not so much to, you know, follow them around, but to see, you know, where they're at, when they're going to be ready for the next task. Are there any issues? Are they, you know, facing any situation that require our attention? Yeah, with an interface that is a lot more pleasant to the eye, but apart from being pleasant, which I think is important, but it's much more efficient. Now you have something that is visually easy, you know, at a quick glimpse, you have an idea of exactly what's going on. We just by looking at this very quickly, we know exactly where Paul is in his route, in his picking route. We know what he's done, what he hasn't done. If he's had comments for us or anything, we can see it on the screen right away. So we don't have to go through a screen that is full of information. Sometimes useful, sometimes a little bit less useful, but, you know, still have to go through each of the lines and try and figure out what is happening. So I strongly believe that, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's, you know, we've heard that since, you know, while growing up, and yeah, we're trying to make this actually come through here at 3D Logistics, and the digital twin is a big part of supporting that mission or that goal of us. And with the digital twin, basically now we have a complete map of your warehouse. So like I said, we know exactly where each of your racks are, any of the workstation, obstacle. So now it's easy for the algorithm to compute a path for your picker to go and pick the different items that they have on their pick list. And now we can add parameters like, you know, how high it is in the rack. Is the person going to need a forklift or no? And if the person needs a forklift for this, well, maybe we should put this in another wave or on another pick list, because that person is going to have to stop, go grab the forklift, or call someone to help out with that pallet that's on the second shelf and things. So we're really able now to discriminate or make the distinction very easily, because we know exactly what's where. And so yeah, we're able to push the algorithm pretty far because we have this other piece of information. And again, going back to the user centricity and making everything user friendly, you could see, you know, now the user has access quickly to the information that he or she needs, without having to go through a list of you know, what needs to be done, where the stock is at, and so on and so forth. And a point that sometimes is a little bit missed, and not that it's a huge factor in the decision of buying X product or Y product when it comes the time to buy a warehouse management system, but The guided picking with the visual 2D map, a little bit like Google Maps, also enhance safety. So just picture your person, the person on the floor picking the items on the list. If every time you have to go back and read where it is, it's basically the equivalent of you putting up a map on your phone and driving to town with a list, or a list of instruction of turn by turn where you need to go, as opposed to having a map. So we could just see how distracting that would be. And in warehouse environments, a little bit like when you're driving, there are sometimes hazards like forklifts passing by and stuff. So anyway, if you're able to quickly see what needs to be done, it's we think it's safer. And there's also something else called cognitive load, which we're going to get into maybe a little bit later, or as part of another webinar. But yeah, so many advantage comes from having this digital twin now part of the system.
Agreed.
And so, go ahead, Michelle.
No, I 100% agree. I'm just thinking back to my days. You have certain scenarios where maybe quite a few of the staff are on leave or off sick, or it could be sort of just a surge, like a peak season or something, and just having that type of UI, that easy seeing view, is just it's so amazing for if you have to get new, temporary staff, or casuals or something like that, to come in and assist. Like, you've got an option by being able to get that extra staff resource that can still work with your current systems or technology, as opposed to being hesitant, knowing it's quite a big onboarding process. They're not going to understand. You don't want anyone to touch the system or mess anything up, so you'll rather work intense hours and burn your staff out completely than getting new people on board. And I really do resonate with this whole UI and the ease of use of the 3D logistics for being able to do something like that. I mean, obviously it can be used for many things, but I'm just thinking from a resource perspective, an onboarding perspective, it would really speak volumes to a lot of companies out there that need such an easy onboarding experience.
Yeah, and we've seen it actually. We've had a few cases where we've basically handed the mobile device to a person and started explaining, and after a minute or two, the person turns around and says, "No, I think I'm all right. I think I understand," and that's that's basically what we want to hear. That when they look at it, they feel comfortable and they're basically ready to go, and we don't have to spend countless minutes, if not hours, explaining where to find stuff and where the menus are. And because they're able to also right away make the connection between the 2D map and the real environment, it's easy for them to just go and navigate.
Exactly.
All right, so the opportunities a digital twin unlocks and why you guys should consider it. So what is all right, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so this is just something that really speaks to me, who someone who didn't have the very technical background like you, or come from a aviation background. When I first heard about this whole digital twin and whatever, I didn't quite understand what it was. I didn't work with simulators or any of that before. So this is something that really like really speaks to me for you to understand like what it actually is and what it is not. So like when looking on the left, you can see that what like the whole dynamic virtual replica of your physical warehouse is a whole model that it's a live model. So it's a living heartbeat of your entire operation. So it can see the layout, the flows, the assets, the processes. It maps all of that together. When that forklift moves and picking starts happening, like the system knows that that is happening. So it really is connected to the reality. It's live. It can be a standalone product, but if you are integrated with other systems, for example, an ERP like NetSuite, as soon as that product is picked and the inventory level goes down, NetSuite knows that as well. Like the same would be with a Shopify. If you know you've only got 2 products on the shelf and someone just purchases one and you start picking that, the system will tell you, okay, you've only got one left, versus having a situation like I mentioned previously, where the system will say there's X amount of volume and then you get there and you can't find it. This avoids all of that, but it's connected to the reality. So it's live, it's integrated, it tells you exactly what's happening on the floor. What it is not is quite funny, but some people I speak to really do feel that it isn't just this whole digital twin and this whole algorithm linked to it to say what's going on your floor. They kind of feel it's like a simulation game. It is not. This is not SimCity for the warehouse. It's a professional simulation that is fueled by your actual data. So please don't think that this is just for looks, for something pretty, for something for you to play with, because it is not. It's also not just a dashboard. So dashboards, a static report will tell you like what happened yesterday. A dashboard like tells you, it's a bit more reactive, so it just tells you what happened. Where is it a digital twin like is live, and it can also tell you like what will happen. So Seb might speak into like a little bit more into this just now, but advanced features that we've got within the system can tell you, you're running out of stock. Like this is your reorder point. It's time to reorder. So the digital twin can show you what will happen. And this is also not just for the big guys, the top end of town that can afford the Fortune 500 tech, but don't have the budget for it. So this is, we're giving that missing middle Fortune 500 visibility.
Yes, and so at the foundation of this, basically the whole idea rests on this digital twin and user-centric intuitive design. So, making everything more visual and visually appealing and easy to interpret and figure out. The other thing is that we integrate with, Michelle mentioned NetSuite, but whether it be MyOb or Business Central or Xero, basically we have an open API like most software as a service now, which makes it really easy for us to connect and provide a live feed to any of your other system, whether it be your ERP, your e-commerce platform, your CRM. And just a little note, like even though 3D Logistics can stand on its own 2 feet, so to speak, where we have, you can create POs and sales order. The idea isn't to replace your ERP, but rather augment it by, like I said, integrated into it. And then, because of all of that, then that enables us to virtually eliminate the onboarding and training time. And something that we haven't talked about in this webinar, but we talked about in another webinar, is the hardware tax, where the platform is built so that it is a software as a service, but it is also available on mobile. So you can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store and basically download our native app. And the software is meant to run on those mobile devices and is meant for you to use the mobile device as scanners. So instead of having to run on those proprietary platform like the Zebras or the Honeywell, we allow you to run on consumer or available off-the-shelf platforms or devices like iPhone or Samsung tablet or whatnot. And it sounds, it might not sound like it makes a big difference, but just remember, everybody now has a phone in their hand almost every hour of the day. So users and people are already comfortable using these devices, and for them it's not, there's nothing intimidating about handling an iPhone or an Android device. So yeah. And then, because we have the access to this other dimension, this third dimension, if you will, what we could do is we can now help you optimize space. So we know exactly how much space each item takes, or each pallet. We know what space is occupied and not occupied in your warehouse. We also have access to sales data, so we could tell you, we know which items are actually selling faster or slower. So based on this, what we could do is we can help you maybe combine items together into one location, and then free up a location which might be prime real estate, quote unquote, for other items. And actually, before I go there, and something I put on the right, the slotting, which is something that is usually available on high-end product, or I should say more expensive product, because it's not necessarily high-end anymore. So slotting is the idea of combined with space optimization. The idea is that each location has a slotting score, but now we're also able to assign a slotting score to your items. So items that sell a lot should be closer to your packing station to minimize the number of steps and accelerate picking. So now we're able to do this because we have the information of what's where in the warehouse, but also what fits where in the warehouse. So we're able to now tell you that pallet XYZ can actually be moved closer to the packing table because we have access to the sales data, but also because we know that there is a free spot closer to the packing station, and the pallet's actually going to fit in that spot. So so one of the use cases where the digital twin makes a huge difference. But then when you combine all of those with yes, the intuitive design, the fact that everything is a lot more visual, then faster picking and faster put away, faster receiving as well. So this is where you start getting into the real sort of tangible savings and efficiency gain. And ultimately, when things are going a little bit faster, a little bit smoother, when people are onboarded or it's possible to onboard people a bit faster, then all of a sudden peak season it is not as stressful as it used to be. You know, you can onboard people fairly quickly. You have a better handle on what your performances are. You know how quickly you can pick orders now, and you know, helps you with being able to plan the staff properly, and so on and so forth. So in terms of opportunity, yes, of course, the 3D, 2D visualization, you know, in and of itself is good. It's nice to have it. It gives you quickly information that maybe previously you didn't have access to that quickly. We haven't talked about simulation a whole lot, but you'll see right after this slide, we go into the demo. You'll see we can do simulation in the sense that if you want to test a couple of layouts of your warehouse, we can also do that. So you can create as many warehouses as you want. Only one can be active at a time for that one physical location. But you know, if you want to test multiple layouts, see if racks are going to fit better, or you know, how traffic is gonna flow, this is something we can enable as well. But other things that we talked about, the onboarding, which is virtually eliminated. The fact that, you know, people have access to visual instructions, they see what the product look like. So, you know, there's a lot less chance for errors. The guided picking, the guided put away. We're able to shorten the receiving and put away time, not just because it's easier or more visually appealing, or the UX is better, but because of what we talked about earlier with the slotting, optimize space, shorten picking time, and then you know, hopefully help you with capacity planning, labor allocation, and safety inside the warehouse. So there's a number of advantage, and I think when you actually hold the application in your hand and start doing it, it becomes really really obvious, and then you wonder why or how come you haven't had that application in your hand earlier. All right, so I'm going to switch over now to the Digital Twin. So everybody should see my virtual warehouse now.
Yeah.
So the first step in building this warehouse is actually the floor layout. So I'm not going to build one here with you guys today, but it's extremely simple. So we start with a simple square, and we put the dimension down of the warehouse, so the overall dimensions of the warehouse. And then what we do is then we bring the walls back, if you will, to recreate the exact shape. So it looks as if, you know, it looks just like a computer assisted design software. Sorry, but this is actually very easy to do if you know how to use a measuring tape. You basically know how to operate, or how to put together a digital twin in 3D logistics. I just grab a bit of water here. All right. So once the floor is set up, we can also put down zones. So as you see, packing, receiving, I put manufacturing here, workshop, and here it's hidden by my set of rack. But I believe this one is called warehousing. Yes. The zones are, you can use them if you wanted to have, or if you wanted to split your warehouse into maybe consumer electronic zone or whatnot, and then you could also arrange your picking using the zones. So there's many different ways a zone or an area can be used. And as you can see, we have different model of racking. So the long rack here are meant to simulate sheet metal racking and or steel beam. And the one on the right here is for tubes or pipes that you need to have standing up. So there's virtually no limitation in terms of what configuration we can accommodate for the racks. You see this one here has a different number of location on level 2. Yeah, you can see on the right hand side when I click on the location, the dimensions change. So those are the actual physical dimension, which allows us to calculate the volume. We haven't set the max weight here, but this is also something that we can set up. And auto generation of the rack name, or the location name, I should say, and the barcode. And if I don't want to auto generate it, but I want something specific, I can simply unclick it and put whatever dimensions, not dimensions, sorry, but name that I want here. And you'll see the barcode adjust automatically. So fairly straightforward. Now, if I was to add a rack, so we can toggle between the zone and the rack here at the top. So when I go to racks, I click on the plus here, and then I'm given a choice here of different bay model. So here we've gone through a few demos, and sometimes we run out of names, so we're sometimes a bit creative with what the name of the rack is going to be. But yeah, the idea is if you have different bay or rack configuration, once you have it saved, you can come back to it and reuse it, so that it's it's easy, and you don't have to rekey in the information for that particular bay or rack model. So I'll just go ahead and use the default one for now. I could pick between, is it a drop zone? So a drop zone would be, let's say, a rack that you would have near a machine, or literally a drop zone that you would have near a machine where your forklift operator, for example, would come and drop a pallet of raw material. Solo would be a rack that would be standing on its own, and a racking row is basically what we have here. So I'll just pick racking rows. Then I have to pick the orientation. So the dotted line represents the alley. I'm going to give it a name. Again, I'll be not super creative here, but the width, the aisle width, so go with a standard 1.5 meter width. And I have to give it an XY position. And the XY position, or the origin of the rack, is always the bottom left corner of the rack. So I'll put 3 meters, so we'll end up somewhere in here, and I'll do create. And here is our rack with the default configuration. Now, this might not be the configuration that I want. So what we do is we simply click on the bay. So I went onto the rack and then down to the bay, which is this one here. And then I'll do edit. And I'm going to create a new model. I don't want to edit the default one. I'll call it demo March 31st. And then once I do that, then you see on the right-hand side, you have all of the freedom that you need, or all of the parameters that you need to configure your rack. So here, the height, so I could put rack 5 meters high. So I usually start with the overall height or overall dimensions of my bay. So let's say 5 meter, I'll put 3 meters wide, and 1 meter or 1.1 meter is usually kind of a standard for the pallets we have, but we can go, you know, if we want to do 3 meters, if we want to go 2 meters, 1 meters. So 1.1 is going to be it. If I want to change the number of levels, you know, 2 levels, 1 level. So this is, again, easily configurable. If I want my first level or my first rack to be above the floor, I can specify how high above the floor I want it. So here, what this does is it changes the height of this, or I could say, no, it's going to be straight on the floor. And if there were some dockings or pipes or something that made it so that you can't use the top row, you could say, take the top row off. Now, again, from globally or from a whole bay perspective, how many locations do I want? And what's the clearance around each of those locations? I can go down to the level, and oops, did I go back down here? Sorry.
So just to add to this, I'm pretty sure some of you might be thinking, you know, it looks easy enough because it's configurable. You've got access to changing dimensions, the layout, etc. But just for you to know that essentially we would help you build your first digital twin. That's just what we will do and configure everything properly. But the point of Seb showing you all of this is that should you wish to change this, you're changing a layout, you're adding an extra rack, whatever it is, it's very easy for you to just go into your digital twin and adjust accordingly. It's not a whole big, you know, train smash, need to get everyone on board. We need to get this whole drawing, you know, changed up or whatever, and resync and relink everything. That's not what this is about. Like, you can go in and change what you want, where you want, if you want to. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. But we would essentially help you set this up initially, so you don't have to physically get the measuring tape and try and draw this yourself. We will help with that. But it is very easy to do it should you wish to.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. And yeah, so like Michelle was saying, if you're able to use a measuring tape, you're going to be good to go. So here, just again, showing you the flexibility. So whatever rack you have, whatever configuration you have, we can accommodate. We even have a customer in Chile that has a tunnel. So, for example, let's say the location, the first 3 levels would actually be empty because it's their only way to get to the end of the warehouse. So the forklift actually drives through the rack, so to speak. So yeah, virtually no limit. And then if you want to add obstacle, so I have one here which I'll repurpose. So I drew a column here, which is, in this case, it's kind of hidden in the corner, so it doesn't really impact anyone. But if I was gonna change this and say this is not going to be a column, but this is going to be the power room, for example. And I'm going to make it 2 meters by 2 meters. And then if I save it, then, you know, here's my power room. So those are as opposed to zones or areas, obstacles are raised. The reason why we would have obstacles, it's not only just, it's not just to, you know, show us and look good on the warehouse drawing or design, but it's for the algorithm to take into consideration these different obstacles when comes time to compute the route for your picker. So they are taken into consideration when calculating the fastest route, and this is, you know, one good reason for adding the obstacles on your digital twin. So
yeah, I think this is really a good view for you guys to see how simple and easy it is, but there's just so much magic that happens from having this digital twin that you don't actually even realize. So yeah, just from a time perspective, Seb, I think if we just go into just a bit more of the obstacles or the challenges that have been overcome in warehouses just by having this digital twin, I think if we could just pop into that, so you guys can actually see, you know, the benefits that come from having a digital twin replica. So one outcome is what we call the dead zone recovery. So I think this happens to a lot of people. One of our distributors felt that they were at 100% capacity with the warehouse they currently had and felt they needed more space. So it's again that challenge of, do we just get an additional warehouse? Do we go for something bigger and move? Like, what do we do? By having the digital twin and that slotting feature that Seb had mentioned, it revealed that 18% of the high reach racking was being used for slow moving dust gatherers, while the fast movers were being staged on the floor. So by realigning the floor to the digital twin, they found that they actually had enough space to delay a whole warehouse move for another 2 years without having to gain an additional warehouse or move entirely.
Yeah, and I think that was pretty timely with with everything that's happening now. Not that it was planned, but yeah.
Absolutely. Another one was just what we call the inventory integrity win. So the go stock that we've also sort of touched on earlier is that the item said it was there, but no one can find it. By having the 3D model, the digital twin, you could obviously visually reconcile the floor. So you put everything, you know, in its spot where it needs to be. So by seeing the warehouse in 3D allowed the manager to spot misplaced pallets that were invisible on a 2D spreadsheet in the past, and pick accuracy hit 100% because the digital and the physical worlds finally stayed in sync.
Yeah, and I mean, in this particular case, also obviously bringing in the scanning and getting rid of the spreadsheet also helps, right? So obviously, if people don't scan, you're not necessarily that much better than the 2D spreadsheet, but people are sort of forced to scan because they basically have the device in their hand, and before moving to the next step, they have to they have to proceed and follow the flow. So it kind of puts them into this sort of tunnel, if you will, where they have to follow the flow and then and scan items, and then the minute they do this, then it becomes visible to management and to whomever on the digital twin. So
and even more so, going back to the usability of that device, if you've got a device to scan and you don't know how it works, or it's complicated, or you're pushing the wrong buttons, that's again going to cause this to not work.
Yeah.
Whereas having just your mobile device, if you wish, that people are comfortable with, it's quick and easy to just scan, it will create that behavior in the staff a lot quicker to have this functionality working perfectly. Yeah, and then just from an accuracy perspective, so I like to call it tribal knowledge trap. So, when you've got staff that have been with you for 10 years, like they know exactly where everything is and all of that, they're part of the furniture. But when it comes to new hires, it's not so much the same situation. So in this scenario or outcome that we had, new hires were losing 5 to 7 SKUs per shift in their first week. So switching from paper to the whole 3D visualization, new hires were able to find the stock and know what to do, like before their first shift even started. So the onboarding is so quick and easy that new hires can run with the same operation or system that the rest of your staff do. So temps or casual workers were hitting 100% accuracy from day one. So that whole shadowing phase was cut from days to hours, which allowed senior staff to stay on the floor instead of doing whole onboarding or being full-time trainers.
Yeah, and in terms of time, there were virtually no difference. I mean, some, because the person is new, they were sometimes a little bit slightly slower, but nothing compared to how it was done before, where the person was almost not deemed fully operational for a week or 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So yeah, the almost eliminated the onboarding phase.
Those are just a few examples. We've obviously got more, but
yeah,
time.
We are at time, but yeah, probably could go a little over, and people have questions there. We'd be happy to answer them. And
I think while we just allow an extra minute or two for our attendees to just pop their questions in. I think a question that I often get asked, Seb, that you could maybe just elaborate on is, Michelle, like we've run this warehouse for the past 15 years or 12 years or 8 years, whatever it is, without this whole digital twin. No one's complained before. We're managing fine. Like, why do we suddenly need this? Like, what's in it for me? What's it really going to change? Like, why should I change?
Yeah, so and that is a good question. In fact, I mean, the short answer is, you don't have to go down the digital twin path, but I strongly feel that it's coming anyway. With AI and augmented reality and so on and so forth. But the what's in it for you, I think, is there's a number of benefits which hopefully we were able to address and pinpoint in that presentation. But I think the onboarding part is one good one nowadays. Especially in those kind of roles, there seems to be a fairly high turnover of people, and if you have to constantly train new people, that takes time and money, and time that you potentially already don't have. So that's one point. Another point is being able to save on space, which a lot of the probably 50% of the customers we meet are actually looking into buying new warehouse space or getting more space, and oftentimes we're able to delay this decision just by showing them that maybe there are ways to use the space that they have a bit more efficiently. Going the digital route, meaning having scanners, barcode is another thing, not completely tied to the digital twin part, but because of basically the UI and what we've created, and the fact that we focused, or we've decided to go down the off the shelf, less expensive hardware. It makes it much more available. So instead of having to spend, let's say, $20,000 on hardware before your first pick, now you might have to spend $2,000 and getting 6, 7, 8 phones or mobile device, and then you're up and running. So you're able to now go from your sheet of paper, which inherently has is prone to errors, compared to now having the scanning with the with the phone and the digital barcode. Another one, time is of the essence for warehouse and distribution, especially for picking. So the slotting functionality, if we're able to automatically recommend new space or optimize location for some of those high roller items that you have, well, you've shortened the pick time by a certain percentage, which means not only does the order go faster out the door and better service to your customer, but it's also now someone on the floor that's spending less time picking each individual item, and that person has more time to pick more orders. So there's really a number of advantage, but you're right. Nobody woke up saying, "Hey, we need this digital twin." But I think there's a number of advantages that have been created, or opportunities that have been created by introducing this digital twin in our platform.
Absolutely. Also, for me, it really is that bridge that we're trying to create. You've got all these fancy systems, your ERPs, your e-commerce platforms, all of those are faster than ever, but your physical floor somehow still becomes analog. And by having that digital twin, by having that bridge, it can make sure that that turnaround time is quick as well on the floor, not just within the systems.
All right.
Cool.
Don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you would like to know more about 3D logistics and how we can help you with our digital twin and other features. Get in touch with us. Also, we could we could build a personalized demo for you, and then maybe use some of your product or tailor it to some of your specific use case to give you an idea of the benefits of using 3D logistics and its digital twin feature.
Awesome. Thank you, Seb.
All right.
Thank you
you,
to our
Michelle.
attendees. Thanks for joining, taking
All right.
time out of your day.
See
Bye.
you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.